Hey everybody, I'm Trading Man Dan with the Chart Guys, trading crypto the last 7.5 years, stocks the last 14 plus. We're going to check in on Bitcoin, some crypto stocks, some altcoins, where we stand on the charts. And this is going to be a good follow-up to the live stream from Friday. If you have not watched that, I would highly suggest go back, watch it. So this all makes a lot more sense, and we have this continuity of laying out a trade setup in advance, watching it shape up and play out, and then what do we do from here, essentially. So as always, thanks for the likes and the shares. Happy New Year. Hope you had a good 2024. Again, lay out those goals for 2025. Change something about your routine. Improve your eating habits, improve your workout routine, whatever it is. Build that as the base to prove discipline to yourself so that you can build trading discipline on top of that foundation. All right, so Bitcoin. So just quickly to sum up the Friday stream, I was talking about how I wanted to see a break of support. I wanted to see a break of 92,000. I wanted to see a lack of follow through, meaning don't break 90,000, and look for that to be a long opportunity to then pop right back above 92. Now, this isn't some grandiose call. Wow, look at me. All this means is, okay, I have some experience. You know that at this point, live streaming for 10 years. And it allows for the backbone of what trading is. Is this a weekly high or low being set? I have no idea. But there is a trade setup laid out in advance to position yourself in a low risk, large reward setup for the possibility where if this is the weekly high or low, it's a big win. And if it's not, it's a tiny loss, if a loss at all. And you then take a step back and reassess and wait for the next setup. And that is all that trading is. You know, I posted my standard broader market check-in video yesterday, and somebody on one of the platforms says, so in other words, you have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah, obviously I have no idea what's going to happen. You're out here on social media looking for someone that's going to tell you, I know what's going to happen. You are destined for disaster. Traders, professional traders, don't know what's going to happen. They position themselves in low risk, high reward scenarios, utilizing their experience and utilizing previous historical examples to build a foundation as to what a trade is. So if someone is acting like they know what's going to happen, it should be a red flag. So Bitcoin broke 92,000, stayed there for about an hour, and then broke bull. I also saw a handful of traders fumble this setup, and a number of reasons for fumbling the setup. But the only two entries that should have been made on this setup that was laid out in advance, an aggressive trader buys the break of 92,000. They will stop out if we drop down to $1 risk that they're willing to take. Let's say I'm really willing to risk $2,000. I buy one Bitcoin on a break of 92. And, I get filled at 91.7, and I put my stop under 90,000, and I'm risking $2,000 on that trade. That's aggressive. Conservative could have said, all right, 15-minute time frame, bear break into a bounce. We get back over 92, quick little high or low. Okay, 15-minute uptrend confirmed, I'm in. So the conservative trader would have entered on a break of 92.3 thousand. Saying, all right, we're lacking follow through under the support break. Those are the only two entries that I see here. And if you didn't enter aggressive and you didn't enter that 15-minute uptrend confirmed, then you shouldn't be making a trade on this setup. You should be, establishing another framework of a different trade, because that is then missed. This trade is then missed. And just for full transparency, I didn't take this trade. I was watching it happen. But again, I'm trading these quantum stocks. RGTI yesterday had a 10% drop into a 25% bounce into, I'm trading these names that are way more volatile. In all honesty, I don't care at all about a Bitcoin 2 to 4% move when I've got 10 to 20% moves on a daily basis in these stocks. So I didn't touch Bitcoin on this setup because there was more opportunity elsewhere. But we got what we were looking for, and there was almost a fake out. So we gave it all back. This is definitely a red flag, but it was a back test and hold of support. So what do you do here? So if you're in, again, let's just say I'm in one Bitcoin, 91.7, stop under 90,000, being aggressive, and then you go straight up to 94.5, knowing we're in a daily downtrend, knowing we haven't even confirmed an hourly uptrend, you've got to take some position off. And the reason that people struggled with this trade that I'm looking back on is not positioning. You've got to do the positioning to get in complete control of the trade. You know, if I'm in at 91.7, I'm risking $1,700 plus fees. And if we pop up to 94, again, I'm not going to nail the top, so this is a hypothetical example. Let's say I sell 93.9. I sell half. Now, again, not including fees, but my break even from 91.7 out half it, let's just say 93.7. Let's go easy math. 93.7. Now my break even for my half remaining position is under 90,000. Again, including fees, your break even is probably right at 90,000. And that you are now in complete control of this trade. You set your stop, you can't lose, and you just let it play out. You don't even have to watch the screen. You go do whatever else you want to be doing over the next couple of days. So it's the partial positioning that is essential, because I'm not in control of the trade with a 91.7 entry and a 90,000 stop. I know my max loss, but I then become in complete control of the trade with a partial sell. You want to be more aggressive? Sell a third. Get your break even down to 91,000 or whatever. Okay, so now what? As soon as you break support with no follow through, what do you scout? You scout a falling wedge. So I drew this morning before we topped out, and we have now rejected right off that downtrend resistance line. So I draw it on the daily. If this is a daily falling wedge, it's a weekly bull flag. So can we drop to a lower low? Absolutely. A falling wedge, by definition, anytime I'm trading a falling wedge, I assume we're going to drop to another lower low. Why do I do that? Because I then have the worst case scenario in part of my game plan. And when I'm trading a wedge, we probably have a video on it. You know, go to our website, look up falling wedge. But how I trade it is I buy on the support break. I place my stop on the dollar risk I'm willing to take. When the bounce gets going, I sell half. And so now if we were to drop back down, let's say 2-3 days from now, and break 91,000 and not have follow through, I reload that half position again. And then we bounce and I sell half again. I just am constantly flipping, because wedges require a significant amount of active management to trade them well, to do exactly what I just mentioned. And that's how I trade wedges. There's some times where I'm day trading a falling wedge, and I'll be placing, I'll buy and sell half and rebuy half and sell half and rebuy half three times, 6 different trades, buying and selling, to stay in complete control and be positioning for when the falling wedge breaks. It definitely requires a lot of experience. This is more an advanced trading style because of the activity that is required. So I'm just watching this pattern now. This pattern is going to either break bull or break bear within the next, we'll say 5 days, just knowing that it's a holiday and then the weekend, but break is imminent. And bulls have to confirm a 4-hour uptrend. We're coming right off the low here. A nice 6% bounce, 5 whatever percent bounce right off the low. Bulls would love to see a 4-hour uptrend confirm. But we can easily drop to a lower low. So you have to plan for both scenarios in your trade game plan. Dominance chart. We're looking for a weekly lower high to be set. Inside bar last week and hasn't broken yet. Again, another possibility is we just form an equilibrium here through January on the dominance chart. But we need to see a little bit of alt relative strength to get that weekly lower high officially set and then take it from there. NASDAQ, bulls really want to form this daily higher low, and Bitcoin bulls want to see the NASDAQ bulls form this daily higher low. Again, we've just got this wide range equilibrium that's trying to find a daily higher low and is struggling to do so at this point. If you told me the NASDAQ's going to break this FOMC low, I would say Bitcoin's headed to the 80,000s. Very likely. And if you tell me that a daily higher low is going to be set and this eventually breaks bull, I would say that Bitcoin is likely a weekly bull flag. So this is going to have significant implications on tilting my probability needle of my expectations for Bitcoin in the short term during this period of weekly consolidation. MSTR has relative weakness comparative to Bitcoin consistently since we topped out. And this is going back to that blow off top day. You know, someone, never want to call anyone out unless they're real jerks. This wasn't a jerk, just giving their opinion. Today, the world watched in horror. This was the top day, as MSTR plunged to levels not seen since Tuesday. At this price, I can't help think, but we should just put your MSD profits, blah, 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 blah. MSTR bull. Better play the miners? Okay, I can agree with that. Miners have been struggling big time. We'll look at them in just a moment. But the volume today suggests a climax top. I'm watching for weekly consolidation. Obviously, Bitcoin's going to have a lot to say in the matter. Call me crazy, but I believe the premium to their Bitcoin may have peaked for this cycle. And we have seen nothing, MSTR divided by Bitcoin, nothing but relative weakness since the climax top. And right now, MSTR is the weakest it's been compared to Bitcoin itself in over 2 months. So we're going to eventually look for MSTR to find a bottom, but you know, there's a gap down here at 279s to be keeping an eye on. Maybe we head to daily oversold conditions from here. But clear climax top. And again, I did that webinar recently about climax tops, and MSTR was one of the examples because it was just a beauty. The gaps, the volume, the psychological 500 number. And after you hit a climax top, you generally see a significant amount of volatility initially, and then it translates into a slow bleed. And we are in the slow bleed stage of the MSTR climax top. Now, is this the top? I have no idea. It's the top for a while, for sure. But that climax top just lets you know, okay, time to back off as a bull because that's a euphoria climax top. Coin is looking for a weekly higher low. It's weaker as well. But again, the most likely scenario here is now a weekly equilibrium. Why? Because we've retraced 50% plus. We're approaching 60% retracement. A weekly higher low is the most likely scenario. And then a weekly lower high will be the most likely scenario. So I'm keeping an eye out. You know, we've been consolidating for a month now. I'm keeping an eye out for the weekly higher low. And, you know, we're probably going to set weekly higher lows in a bunch of these altcoins when these crypto stocks set a weekly higher low. Again, the miners just don't look good. I mean, they're doing nothing the last couple years. I mean, all 2024 is just chopping around. Great volatility in both directions. But again, you know, here we are trading at levels from January of 2024. And, you know, this is, if you showed me this chart and said, is Bitcoin breaking out to all-time highs in 2024? I'd say, nah, it doesn't look like it. Obviously, it has. Relative weakness in the miners remains very consistent. And CLSK is approaching, you know, it's approaching the lowest level in 10 months almost. And Riot holding on a little bit better recently. But again, there's still nothing going on in these miners at this point. I was watching for the possibility that MSTR profits went to miners. They did for a couple days, but obviously unsustainable. This downtrend resistance line on Riot, again, you know, I use trend lines for visual guides, but that is one that is worth watching. When you just see so many rejections, you know that if we're going to see any kind of significant shift, you've got to get over that line. And so that is a key one here because it's been in play for the last 6 months. No, last 18 months. The longer term a guide, the more significant information it is when it changes. I traded natural gas for the first time in over 2 years because it confirmed or was setting up to confirm the first weekly uptrend in over a year. It literally confirmed the first weekly uptrend in over a year. And from that confirmation, it very quickly ran another 40%. 30%. So find the long-term patterns that have been the case for a long period. I mean, Bitcoin. Remember when Bitcoin put in its 2022 bottom? How did it do it? When was the last time? It's the same thing as natural gas. When was the last time Bitcoin confirmed a weekly uptrend? It had not happened since March of 2022. We then find ourselves in December 2022. So we could say it's been, 9 months. It's been 9 months since we have confirmed a weekly uptrend in Bitcoin. And the first time it happened That was the bottom. And we then ran hundreds of percent. And, again, trading is hard, but there's sometimes you look at something and say, well, duh. First confirmed weekly uptrend in 9 months marks the bottom. ETH, sideways. This is just a daily equilibrium still. Low, high, higher low, lower high. Trying to hold this base for another higher low. If we don't break 35.44, we're just going to keep tightening up here. Volatility is coming likely in the first week of 2025 for ETH when this daily equilibrium breaks. If it breaks bull, the weekly higher low is set. And then we watch for the possibility that we set a weekly lower high because we did retrace significantly. But for now, it's just all about the daily tightening up. ETH BTC is pretty much just inverse the dominance chart. We're trying to set a weekly higher low. After a weekly inside bar, the dominance chart is trying to set a weekly lower high after a weekly inside bar. But we know the Ethereum bulls still have a lot of proving to do. XRP still held its support. That base down in the 190s. So we dipped just below $2, depending on what exchange, into a bounce, 6-7% bounce. So support's still in play. And again, if Bitcoin's going to drop down and stay with a falling wedge and hit another lower low without much follow through, then we expect XRP and Link to break their supports without much follow through. Link is right on top of $20, that double bottom. Can definitely still see these names break their support. But again, it's the same setup as Bitcoin. You've got to ensure a lack of follow through. You've got to ensure that, in the first hour after we break bear, that we're back up above that level, getting the bounce underway. All right, thanks again for the like, 68. We'll bump that up over 100. I know you guys got my back. Short term for Bitcoin, again, watching for, okay, we're looking for an hourly higher low here. Again, NASDAQ weakness definitely having an impact since the bell rang a couple hours ago. But bigger picture, 4 hour. I mean, these days, when we're in consolidation mode, I'm zooming out. If we're in breakout mode, zoomed in. 5-minute back burners, 15-minute back burners. When we're in consolidation mode, you zoom out because the shorter term moves are more choppy. There's less signals that are worthwhile on the shorter term time frames. So right now, really 4 hours is the shortest time frame that I'm watching Bitcoin on. Happy New Year's, Ryan and Bart. Any thought on futures trading on Coinbase? I haven't looked in depth into it. I don't even know if it's live at the moment. Honestly, one of the benefits of having a community of hundreds of traders is that, I'm not an early adopter to things. I'm not in a rush to trade something new. So if people are like, hey, there's an opportunity here. This is great. This is so much better than trading spot on Coinbase. And I say, okay, I'll check it out. But I'm not a first mover on really anything these days. Never really have been. I was late to the smartphone game. But yeah, I'm not in a rush to try new things. I've got my established thing that's working. If everybody says, hey, this is worthwhile. I mean, that was 2017. Everybody said, hey, this crypto thing's worth checking out. Okay, enough people told me, I'll check it out. In May, I mentioned that I follow Litecoin as a top signal for BTC. Well, that's a little bit simplified. Litecoin markets in general very often have the leaders lead. In a bull market, you got the leaders leading, and the final phase of a bull market is generally when the laggards, the weaker names, get their rotation and their turn. And people call it a dash to trash, where it's like the last thing, the things that haven't run yet, when everything else is run, then they pop. And Litecoin historically has been that in crypto, where BTC will run, and then ETH will run, and then Litecoin gets a move, and very shortly after Litecoin's move, it marks a top into a period of consolidation. What do I think about the Bitcoin futures gap? Again, I don't pay attention to gaps on crypto. Doesn't mean you shouldn't. Doesn't mean there's no information there. I just don't find it entirely useful. You know, if it would align, it can be a factor. We look for a confluence of signals when we're trading. You know, I want to see hourly oversold from a breakout, an hourly back burner, mark a daily high or low. I want to see it testing, 12-hour EMA 12 support that gives me a number of things that increase my conviction in the trade setup. And if you have a trade setup that you're laying out and a gap fill aligns as a factor with a number of other indicators and, trend line set, whatever it is that you're establishing your trade game based off of, then it can be, just one little puzzle piece as a part of that trade setup. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I've just never adopted Bitcoin gaps into any of my trading strategy with crypto. Hainsey, only swing trading these days, trade like a robot. Thanks, Jackson. Same to you. Golem. I haven't looked at Golem in a year, so let's check it out. Or I don't even know what the symbol is. GLM. Back from 2017 days. It's a nice equilibrium. 2-week time frame. So again, when you look at this, you say, well, but all these pivots are in there. My mind just smooths that out. To me, all I see in my brain is high, low, lower high. We're scouting a higher low compared to 22.5. And obviously, this needs to break bull. But we can stay within this tightening range for another couple months, really. I generally don't use log charts. I will if something is exponential running up. I'll flip log on and check it out. But generally I don't. I mean, this to me is on Litecoin is a bull break with no follow through, which means zoom out and look for a longer term lower high. I just have no interest whatsoever in Litecoin. Oftentimes, it's nice to be paying attention to Litecoin as a lead bear if you're trading crypto bearish. I mean, the miners can short squeeze, but if we didn't do anything when Bitcoin was at 100,000, I don't see Bitcoin getting back to 100,000. I mean, what's that? Another 6% to the upside leading to a short squeeze. I mean, look at the amount of space here. MARA can bounce 50% and set a weekly lower high. There's so much space for that weekly lower high at this point. Who do I think the dash or trash will be? Honestly, I have no idea. Even my guess there wouldn't be worthwhile. Solana. So again, trying to get the weekly bounce underway, but there is space for a weekly lower high. We can go up 20% from here and just set a weekly lower high. So tightening daily range, very similar to ETH, just a standard equilibrium approaching. Actually, you could say it broke bull by getting over 197s. But if it's going to be convincing, we got to get over 202 and hit the highest level in a couple weeks, get the weekly bounce underway. Then we zoom out and we watch for the possibility that a weekly lower high is the result of that bounce. just because the retracement size was more significant than bulls wanted to see. So when Bitcoin was 60,000, MARA was $34. How can we explain it when Bitcoin is at 90,000 and MARA is at 17? Number one, dilution. How much has it diluted since then? I don't know offhand. Dilution is essentially like increasing gravity on the stock price. It's increasing supply of shares that eventually hit the market. And so, yeah, you know, MARA, they're diluting to buy more Bitcoin. They're trying that strategy. But if you'll note the wording of their press releases, they say, yeah, some's going to buy Bitcoin, but it's also to, you know, fund our operations. It's dilution. Dilution's never a good thing. Well, I guess in MSTR's case, it worked out at least for a while. Long term remains to be seen. But let's just say generalizing, you know, companies have to dilute to expand and things like that. But as a shareholder, dilution is rarely a good thing. It means your company needs money. If your company needs money to expand and it pays off in 5 years, okay, that's one thing. But the number one reason that things slow bleed is dilution. And also the halving. I mean, the halving obviously is a factor to these miners and their profitability and all that. ADA, same deal. We're looking for the weekly high or low. There's plenty of space for the potential of a weekly lower high to be the result of the next bounce. We've got a tightening daily range that's a little bit weaker than some of the other tightening ranges we just looked at, just because it is technically a daily downtrend where we are seeing lower highs and lower lows, where ETH and SOL are just straight up sideways. Watch those little lower highs. Absolutely nothing changes if we do not break the lower highs. And the last one was at 911. Yeah, I looked at the wrong AI agent chart last stream just because I'm not paying attention to this at all. But yeah, that's a strong chart. Nice uptrend. Volume is whack. Just be aware of that. I mean, you're putting in $350,000 a day on this name. I need $5 million a day if I'm going to trade something in terms of the amount of liquidity, volume, etc. Miners can definitely be used as a hedge. I had that theory a long time ago. I forget when, earlier this year, that miners are being used as a hedge. I mean, long Bitcoin, short miners has been a great trade in 2024. Our GTI has a real nice hourly equilibrium. FTM. That weekly retracement is not good. Very confident a weekly lower high is the most likely result of the next bounce. Approaching daily oversold. This sell-off the last week is, you know, I'd be looking around, what's the fundamental reason, what's the headline reason for this kind of relative weakness? You know, most names right now are trading within this sideways range. This is what ETH, SOL is doing. Why are we just straight dropping for the last week while so many other names are trading sideways? All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks again for the likes and the shares. What was my best crypto trade ever? I guess that depends on how you define best ever. I mean, best ever is the fact that I'm still holding BTC and ETH from 7.5 years ago. That's the best trade. My biggest gains in crypto in a single day broke my prior annual goal of capital gains when I was becoming a full-time trader in one day. And I don't even remember the trade that did it. I have no idea what the setup was. I remember I can put myself in the room I was in. I can put myself with the dollar amount I made, but I have no idea what the trade was. All right. Have a happy new year, everybody. Be safe. And we'll see you in 2025. Keep an eye on that Bitcoin possible daily falling wedge.